I'm back, and the show is Who Am I? Who am I? Why am I here? What's the meaning of my life? How to translate the energies? What is my biotechnological design? In some ways, I look at these things in a very matter-of-fact way. And the questions are very matter-of-fact. And sometimes it takes you into the esoteric, and sometimes it gets poetic, and sometimes it gets so interesting. Who am I? Who am I? If you've been listening to the show over time, and I've been doing it for a long time, for coming up on a year in about another month. So I'm about 11 months in. I started January 10th this year, and it is December 10th today. If you're, like I said, if you have been watching the show, you will have seen sort of a change in the tone. When I started the show, I had this idea that it was going to be a particular presentation that I was going to get tighter and tighter with, dialing into a specific perspective, tighter and tighter until I really had nailed its ass to the wall. Well, that's not exactly what happened, because it's like I did that presentation for quite a while, and then it got to the point where I was like, okay, you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about, you know the general gist of the mixture. Now I just sort of muse and riff and what are other words for what I do? Ponder, because there's no, I'm not putting forth a viewpoint that I say, this is what it is, and you must abandon your own perspective and adopt this one. That's not what it seemed like it at first. My pointed presentation at first, trying to tell the world, hey, this is how our biotechnology works. This is who we are. We should be teaching our children this. And while I still believe that, it's like I don't need to keep saying the same thing over and over, do I? Maybe I do. This morning, as I was laying in bed before I got up to do this, I was thinking about what it is that I do believe and how it has changed how I look at the world fairly recently, and how it is morphing and changing how the energies are flowing now, and the kinds of things that might start coming down the pike for me and my circle of family, and the kinds of things we might do in the future, and how we might think of what we might do in the future, and how that has changed. So what am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you what. I came across a teaching 4 years ago. Almost 5 years ago now. Almost 5, not quite. It was right at the beginning of 2020, and we're getting ready to be at the beginning of 2025, but we're not there yet. And this teaching espoused a viewpoint that I have adopted. And in adopting this new viewpoint, it has changed my outlook about everything, about our future, about my future, about the possibilities, about what I'm actually looking at. Because up until that point, I still had an unconscious belief in the positive, negative thing that we all do. This sort of objective focus as you look at the world, and you want to be honest and you want to be real, and so you go positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. But you don't actually have to do that. And that's not really how the world is. Although in some way, shape, or form, there is positive and negative, or I couldn't even be talking about such concepts. But what I came to believe, and I have input it into the top of the operating system within so your consciousness is like a computer. So get into the inside of it and look around in there. Be honest. Recognize what you've put in there, what the different lenses are, what the different programs that you're running, how you've lined up the... so there's things called, I call them anyway, primary assumptions. Those primary assumptions at the top of the chain, they are what other people would call your beliefs, your primary assumptions about the nature of the world. And depending on how you arrange those at the top of the board, all of the data flows differently from that position. Now, so you have your physical mind is like a computer. It is like a computer. Your brain mind, your physical mind, there's some very computer-like aspects to it. But you have two minds. This is one of the things I did not specifically so clearly understand. You have two minds. You don't, I mean, one is like a you that you don't really know is you. You haven't identified with it as you. You don't understand it as you. It's not in your primary assumptions as you. You don't, it's sort of like a hidden you. This is what happens when you don't understand your full characteristical nature. And I'm talking in matter-of-fact tones. We're going to be talking physics. We're going to be talking just... and I guess I am sort of making this presentation about who I have come to believe that we are. This is just what I have come to believe that we are. And I'm telling you, this viewpoint is really working. It's really working for me, and I'm helping to pass it on to my daughters, and it's starting to work for them. We are moving from people who were okay, doing okay, but if you really wanted to be honest, there were some deep fissures, deep issues with my daughters were having a hard time attracting abundance into their lives properly and finding their peaceful, joyful path. It was more of a tortured path. It was more of a bumpy path. There were characters that they were introducing into the mix that were a mixed bag, if you will. You know, we embraced them, but they caused their little ripples, and then anyway, these philosophies are really starting to turn my daughters' lives around, where they can see the possibilities in manifestation. Manifestation being your ability to arrange and allow, coordinate, and rendezvous with more with the aspects of life that make it enjoyable and fun, and less with those aspects that make it dangerous and uncomfortable, if you know what I mean. From a general standpoint, just from a general standpoint, they're manifesting houses, and it's not just that. It's everyone is getting a clearer and clearer recognition of where the path of success lies. And the path of success turns out to lie down a particular path of vibrational energy, of focus, a certain kind of focus and a certain kind of dreaming, mixing together this understanding of what this world actually is. In spirituality as well as in physics, it lines up perfectly, and you can see it in your mind. It lines up all the way down the line, from the huge to the small. So what am I talking about? What kinds of things do I believe these days that I didn't believe before? First of all, I no longer believe in the negative, although I understand it to be true, to be there, to be in existence. There is negative. I don't have to... I don't believe in the negative, even though I absolutely acknowledge its existence. So what on earth does that mean? What could it possibly mean to not believe in something that you think is true? I do believe there is negative, but I don't believe in it. There's a difference. I believe that there is negative, but I do not believe in it. I no longer believe in the negative. I only believe in the positive, although I acknowledge the negative exists. Negative as in negative emotion, as in conditions that I do not prefer. Those kinds of things, I recognize that those things exist. Negative emotion exists. My negative emotion exists. Your negative emotions exist. And conditions that I don't like exist. Both of those things are true. However, that's not negative. That's just reality. If you pull outside of that and don't see it in negative, then something completely different happens. If you don't go negative, if everything that you see is always, you can pull it together, you can see the positive in it, then you're okay. Actually, I don't like that sentence. I don't like that sentence I just said. Because you're okay anyway. But, so who am I? What the hell am I talking about? And what kinds of things do I believe? Well, I believe now, and physics and the new physics, surely, but the old physics even acknowledges this, and that is that we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. Nikola Tesla understood that over 100 years ago. And said so, but most people didn't understand what he was talking about. There are more people now who understand what he might be talking about. That the spirit, the vibration, how it feels is actually primary. Primary. It's not secondary, Mr. Spock. How it feels is number one. And I'll tell you why, Mr. Spock, you think that negative emotion is illogical, or why you believe emotion is illogical. It's because you don't understand that we are two beings. We are two selves. We are two solid points of attraction. Points of attraction to a universe that is spinning, whose components are spinning. And they will spin into your life and out of your life. And how you rendezvous, how you line up with your two selves and do not cross your own energy stream. Do not cross your own energy stream. You have a positive, forward-thinking, forward-looking, forward-connected, loving spirit that is you. That is who you are in essence. It is your spirit self. It is who you are when you lay this mortal down. It is you driving the internal fires of your mortal now. Because you are not two separate, you are two joined beings. But we tend to not understand who we are, and we imagine things like we are separate selves. So these two selves that you are... Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to cough. So, let's go back to the positive and negative thing. Because it actually is important. It really matters. Your negative self only belongs to your temporal self. It is a function of your physical brain and mind and character and aspect, and that physical temporary self that you most identify with. It's a function of that one not blending well with the other one. It's only a temporal phenomenon. Your negative self is not truly you. And that's why it feels so bad. And that's why when it's running the show, when it's calling the shots, how everything turns out so poorly. Because it is not blending well with the rest of the field either. What truly, how the rest of the field is flowing in its expansive, downstream, forward kind of flow. That's who you really are. That's what the rest of the field really is. It is expanding, it's growing, it is learning. There is a feed-forward, feedback element in the structure that is allowing it to learn. So we're all expanding. If you feel like that isn't what's happening, you're not seeing a long enough frame, you're not seeing it in a big enough frame, and you may be turned in a negative direction, imagining a negative outcome. Judging it in a way that is not actually true to what it is. It is positive. You are positive. We are positive. And, this is something that I actually did not realize prior to 5 years ago, a little more than 5 years ago. My daughter and I had started doing a weekly study group on A Course in Miracles. It was every Wednesday night or Monday night. I can't remember. It was one of the two. Monday night, maybe. I don't know. And I was starting to play with the spiritual notion that it espouses, which is something on the order of only the love is real. And what does that idea taste like? And what on earth could those cryptic words possibly mean? Because obviously more than love is real. Have you not heard of the Holocaust? Are you blind? Have you put your head into the sand? No. As a matter of fact, I have been a student of darkness. A student of war. I mean, just from a matter of fact, not judgy, not fearful, just sort of interested from a academic sort of standpoint. Studied the Holocaust, interested in World War II, the Civil War, the American Civil War, to a lesser extent the American Revolution, and then other points and plots in history, world history, have interested me too. English history, 16th century English history, and even 17th century English history. That would take you through from Henry VIII, through Bloody Mary, Mary Queen of Scots, Queen Elizabeth, up through James I and on into Charles I and, beheaded, and the second, and back to the Reformation and Oliver Cromwell and the Regency and blah, 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 blah. All of that would take you through that time period. Now, I have not studied all of world history. There is a lot of the world. And a lot of the history that I studied through historical fiction. That's how you start. Start with historical fiction from an author that you maybe trust, or that just start with what you're interested in. It can be historical fiction a la romance novel, and start with that. And then you start getting a framework within your own mind, a sense of the storyline. Because we're living in, you could think of it as a 3D movie. This is how I conceptualized it for decades and decades and decades, as I built the structure of imagining where I was in the movie. In other words, what would be appropriate to be, do, or say in this moment as you recognize where you are in the movie. You're trying to respond to current events or, things that you care about. What happened to me is in my 20s, I discovered a couple of things that troubled me. One of them was vivisection, which really bothered me because it was underpinning our medical model, which I felt made our medical model really unwise. There was a spiritual misunderstanding somehow at the center of our medical model, where it was sort of Mengele-like, actually. There was something very Mengele. Dr. Mengele, the doctor at Auschwitz who had, who did all these just absurd and spiritually off experiments. When you see it's like, what, are you crazy? Are you a fool? What kind of nonsense is this? It's like the whole point of it is to torture other sentient beings because the biggest problem is you don't understand who you are, Dr. Mengele. And so you keep doing this because you're hoping to spark something in your dead soul. And it's kind of, the vivisection was kind of like that. And then not only that, but it made for really bad, stupid science, which made me even further distrust the medical model, which I still have this kind of distrust to this day. And so I'm very careful about what medicine I allow myself to take because I must believe in it somehow, or I won't take it into my body. Now, I do have some belief in vaccinations because I have some understanding of the validity of the methodology that they start with. And I do believe in that, in arming your own immune system, teaching it things that, in a mild way so that it will build antibodies so that you are prepared just in case you got, the actual thing. I do understand that, but there are also problems with the model. It has to do with the intentionality of the institutions doing the work in the first place, what the object of their exercise is. If at the center of the object of their exercise primarily and only is the good and well-being of humanity, I would trust their vaccines implicitly. But I know that is not the only intention mixed into that brew. And to whatever extent other intentions are mixed in, there might be contaminations in the product on the other side. First of all, it's coming from a primary assumption that what they want to do is sell us a product. It is not trying to unlock the secrets of health for all of us, simply so that we will all be healthy, so that we will be a healthier species, so that we will be a mightier race. But so that one group of people can make money from another group of people. It's a mixed bag. And I don't want to go too far down that rat hole because there is plenty of good things. And just so you know, I did get vaccinated. And if you decide to get vaccinated, then you take it into your body without any of the doubt. You pull it, you say, I take this into my body to nourish and strengthen it, to arm my autoimmune disorder, arm my immune system against. It's the same way that you have to think about food. You know that there are contaminants in our food based on, the things that we do through our farming practices, our fertilization practices, and our weed killing practices, and our bug spraying practices, and all those kind of things. There are all kinds of contaminants. We create chemicals intentionally and then intentionally put them into the food and whatever, into the environment. But all food is good. And when you take food into your body, do not take the food in with doubt. You take it in with... And so basically, I'm letting go my resistance. I used to have so much resistance. Resistance to the vaccines, resistance to this kind of food or that kind of food, this kind of fat or that kind. What today? Are eggs good or bad? Is it good to drink fruit juice, or is that poison because it's all sugar? Or I don't know. All of the different. Should I fry things or not fry things? Is coffee okay? Is tea a good thing? How about I don't know. It's super beets today, and it's acai berries tomorrow. And if you look at it from the outside, it's a never-ending game of cat and mouse, resistance. What do I do? So a completely different thing has happened in my life too. Way unexpected. In the midst of all of these things that are going so well, I believe things are going so well. And they are getting better and better, and bigger and more interesting things are coming up, cropping up on the horizon, possibilities that add to other possibilities that might lead to adventures. And I'm getting very excited about life again. I'm feeling like it's like we are all reinventing ourselves. And I just cannot wait for all of this to, I'm so happy right now. And things are unfolding and unfolding, and they're just going to get better. So, what is causing all of this? It's a new philosophy. It has to do with a different way of looking at the world. I no longer process the positive and negative in the same way I used to do that. I no longer see the aspects of positive and negative in the same way that I used to see them. And the difference in myself is astonishing. And it's translating into me feeling better, me thinking clearer, pounds are dropping off. My daughters and I are starting to click in a better way, and physical possibilities are stirring on the outside of things that we're moving to from the inside. You can see it. You can start to see a larger pattern of mutual beneficial physical emotion on the outside stirring into place. It's points of spin, it's points of attraction, it's manifestation. It's all kinds of wonderful things. And how is it coming about? It's coming about by following the teachings of Abraham, and I'm going to tell you what they are. Things like, okay, you are a vibrational being in a vibrational universe, and that is your primary truth. That's the primary thing that is true around you. and you have a vibrational aspect of yourself we're going to call the inner being. Now, you're going to recognize after we talk about this for a while that this is not something that is not known. This inner being is totally known and is called different things from different perspectives, from in different religious contexts or different. You're going to just know that this is, I'm not going to tell you something you don't already know. However, we're going to talk about it maybe in ways you've never talked about it before. We're going to think about it in ways maybe you've never thought about it before. But this vibrational, greater aspect of yourself is connected to all of all that is. And we're just going to call that source. This source is an energy field. It's an energy field. And the mathematics of it are only in the last 2 decades been accurately described, and from this day forward have yet to be completely understood by humanity as a whole. There are parts of humanity who are understanding it and jumping on board and going, oh my gosh, look at what this is unlocking, what this will unlock for us as human beings on planet Earth. Now, it's sort of a moment like, right after quantum physics was the first mathematics of quantum physics was understood, written out in such a way so that others could see it and begin to understand it. So we're talking like a 1935, 1940 kind of moment. Right after, we're a few years after certain people are beginning to understand the implications, but what quantum physics and the understanding of the electromagnetic spectrum of energies brought us was the 20th century, and to some extent still, because the 21st century is a continuation of the 20th century. It's still bringing us that. But this new understanding is going to bring us the 21st and 22nd centuries in the same kind of dramatic way that the understanding of quantum physics and the electromagnetic fields have brought to the 20th century. It brought us television. It brought us the internet. It has brought us all the kinds of technologies that have arisen, flight and space travel and all of that sort of thing. Well, buckle up, people, because we've got more coming. And the 2 greatest things that are not clearly understood yet, but when you understand these mathematics and when you input them into your own internal processing system and see what they unlock, what the implications are to goods manufacturing, the ability to pull form directly out of the plonks. It's like we live in a 3D printer, in the midst of an enormous 3D printer, when you understand how the plonks make the stuff. And what is what is behind all things. This field of oneness. And when we have an intention as human beings in alignment with the loving, connected field around us, we will find that the mysteries of the universe will unlock right in front of us. But as long as we are warlike, as long as we are resistant, as long as we are adamantly separatist and not understanding our connected wholeness and how we are both blessedly and divinely connected with one another, and blessedly and divinely autonomously separate from one another. I call that divine autonomy. Others call it, in their religious structure, they call it free agency, and they see that as a holy spirit that is really important to understand everyone's free agency. Well, I call that divine autonomy. Your absolute call over your point of spin, your vortex. You get to call your vortex. And you actually are two vortexes, or two vortices, if you will, if you must be completely grammatically correct. Although I liked vortexes better because it implies that they are separate. One vortex and another vortex, but they actually do connect to one another at the base. Somehow you are those two vortices. You are them. And all of everything is spinning. Everything is spinning. All is spin. And there are two spins. From your perspective, there are two spins that you need be concerned about. One is the source spin that is coming from your source of energy, your source of inspiration, your source of imagination, your source of spiritual guidance, your source of grounding who you are. It's actually the ground, the base ground level of who you really are. It's who you are in the background as you are being this temporal being in this moment, and when you lay this mortal down, that is who you will continue to be, that continuum of energy and purpose and intention. But what it is love. It is love, it is love, it is love. It is not some beings have a base ground intention of malice. I do not believe in that. I believe that the intention of malice, that particular energy, that particular spirit, comes from some sort of physical experience where it is possible to fool oneself about the nature of existence. Because to me, only God exists. Only God exists. Now, there is an experience that appears to be something. So how do you create an experience that appears to be not God when the only thing you have to work with is God? Well, you can do that, as a matter of fact. Human beings do it all the time. They do it in thought. When they go to a thought that does not feel good when they think it. The reason it doesn't feel good when they think it is because they did not take God with them when they thought the thought. So you think a thought, it feels terrible. It plunges your vibrational frequency into the ditch. And you believe for some reason that the reason it did that is because, first of all, the thought's true. I know that thought is true. And so the reason that I dropped in that emotion, the reason I dropped in that frequency, and the reason why it feels so bad is because that condition is off. That condition is off, and so the only answer is I must change that condition. And until that condition changes, I will feel bad. This is the way that human beings have approached this mortal plane for a long time. And it is a mistake. It is a mistake in the reading of it's a mistake in the reading of your equipment and the object of the exercise and what you're trying to do and how the field works and everything. It's a misreading of all of that. We are not conditional beings the way we have imagined ourselves to be. Now it's interesting, having imagined ourselves to be conditional beings has created us to be a really interesting race of creatures. And so that's why we did it, because that's what it created and it's interesting. But we are actually not conditional creatures. And so that's not the way to look at things. Hold on one second. So what do we do instead? Apparently, we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And everything is actually working out for us. But we don't believe that to be true. And so we keep fending off a darkness that is really not there. But in our fending off the darkness, we are shielding ourselves from a light, from a light that is trying to rain down around us, a well-being that is trying to rain down around us. But we've got an umbrella up, guarded, because we do not believe in a blessed universe. We do not believe in a divinely blessed universe. We believe in a universe of light and dark, good and bad, good and evil, mythological good and mythological evil. Well, I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe that that's what darkness is anymore. And if you still do, hear me out for just a minute. And if you don't, then we're in accord. If you do still believe in a source of darkness, then just hear me out for a minute, because I'm going to tell you what the darkness actually is, and it is bad enough. It is bad enough to create every evil you have ever seen on the planet. And there has been plenty of evil. If you've ever studied any war, there is not a war that horrible, bloody, terrible, atrocious, evil, disgusting, mean, painful, suffering things did not happen. There's not a war that did not happen. So study any war and you will recognize that evil exists, certainly does. But what is it? I think this is what it is. So you are two minds, and one of them is relentlessly positive. Your inner being is only positive. She is sitting in a place, and you can call it a he if you want, but I like she because it's a nurturing mother goddess of the universe. It is our mother, nurturing mother. She, imagine it to be a place in consciousness. This place I'm talking about, this she that I am talking about. Let's see. I'm talking, forgive me, I am talking about things that most people, they talk about them in church, and they have their own religious lens and their own religious frame that they use to understand the universe. And it acts like a recipe and a formula, and it either works for them or it doesn't work for them. Now, I know a lot of people within a particular religion whose religion works for them, because if you read this religion correctly, and not everybody does, the religion is basically espousing a spiritual frequency that they want you to be on first. Get on this frequency, this sacred frequency, and then we'll talk to you about religion. We'll talk to you about, it's a non-resistant, allowing place. Well, it works. Their religion works for them because that works. That's alignment. Get into alignment, and then is, oh, wow. So the reason I do this show is because there is a generalness about this information, And then there's a specificity about this, a specificness about this information. And I need to get better and better at toggling from the specific to the general and back without getting lost in the specific. Because what'll happen is I'm on a general jag about some general point, and I go into a specific, and then I get lost in a specific, and now I've lost where I was in the general, and the audience is going, wait a minute, you were on to something general there that I want you to go back and do. Oh, I have a great idea what I'm going to do. Okay. Anyway, so as I do this show, I get better and better at this whole process. It's a process for me. I'm getting better at this so that I can find my full clarity. So that if I have a question in my life that comes up, I know where the question's coming from, and I know where to go to find the answer. What's the question coming up from? The question is crossed energy. What's the answer? Uncrossing the energy and finding my own clarity so that I know what I want. And it's not the villagers inside of me cease arguing about what we want. That we come to consensus inside of me so that I know it's not like, well, part of me wants to do this and part of me wants to do that, and I'm just not clear about what I want to do. And in actual fact, what that means is there's probably something else that you need to do that's bigger and different than both of those things, but includes the spirit of both of those things. Because what your inner being is trying to lead you to is everything you want, not just meager pieces of what you want. She's trying to lead you to the full fulfillment of exactly what you want in all things. So you're not sacrificing beauty for function, or you're not sacrificing mobility for I don't know. The thing, it's like you want a beautiful, functional place to live, filled with happy, joyful people, all of them doing what they want to do, along with you doing what you want to do, as we all work and play and sing joyfully with one another. Does this sound like any kind of world that we've got out there? No, it doesn't. So quit staring at what we've got and do a little less of that and a little more of the imagining where and how we need to go to make it better and different. Face reality a little less and daydream just a little bit more. Otherwise the energy won't move. If you just stand there and stare at what you don't like, and you're so clear on exactly what's real and what's there right now, and boy, I don't like it, but I'm facing reality. If you do that in that manner, nothing will ever shift because you're not understanding how the energy moves. You don't just want to understand what reality is, you want to understand how reality moves. And the reason that you want to understand how reality moves is maybe you're in a position that you don't necessarily want to stay in this exact position forever and ever. Whether it's relative to relationships you have with relatives, that you have dealings with for whatever emotional reasons that you have. You need to understand how the energy moves if you're in a place where you don't like where the energy is. And you'd like it to move from away from what you don't like into more of what you do like. What don't you like? You don't like people being hateful with one another. You don't like people misunderstanding. Sounds like that's my laundry. Ooh, are we an hour in? No, we're 49 minutes in. So we've got a little bit more time. Like I said yesterday, I'm shifting gears. I'm going to move away from doing it live all the time to back to my roots, doing it not live. Although I may do a hybrid mix where I do my show. Think about this one. Say if I do my show just like I'm doing it now, where I'm just recording it and I'm riffing about the universe, and I then later play it live and man the chat room myself as people respond to what's being said about different things. So it's like I'm in the chat room chatting with them and we're listening to my show. I don't know whether that would work. It sounds like it might be crazy. But I've started to go back to just the recorded shows because I do this for my own self. I do this for my own clarity so that I get clearer and clearer and clearer every day about who I am and how I work. And I'm telling you, things are happening around me. As I lay down the oars and quit trying to swim upstream so hard, as I just relax and with faith and an easy heart, just allow it to be. Let it be, let it be. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. When I approach life with that spirit, it is amazing the things that are lining up. It's like to keep the abundance away from us, we act the way we act. If we'd stop doing that, abundance would come to us. We are living in the middle of an abundance creating machine of cosmic proportion, that if we would but learn how it works, we could co-create with it in ways that, and we are, and we do. It almost sounds like I'm assuming that we don't. When I say that, I'm assuming that we don't, and I'm assuming that we aren't. But we do. And open your eyes to all of the places where we do that. My sister lives in East Mesa, Arizona. And somewhere in the vicinity there, they have the coolest thing there. It's a water reclamation plant. But it plays like a big public park. There's wetlands, there's grassy facilities, there's places where there's bird life and aquatic life of all sorts. There's a large area where it's all human park, with picnic tables and restrooms and facilities, all kinds of places for people to play and gather. But it's also an area where it's a nature space. And at the same time, it is treating wastewater and turning it back into usable water. There's walking trails and all kinds of stuff, and it's really cool. Human beings created this. When human beings get into alignment with reality, with a capital R, with who they really are, with a capital R and a capital A, really are, magical, wonderful things happen. And they happen incrementally all the time anyway, because we are in and out of being in touch with who we really are all the time. You can't completely lose touch with who we are. It's just slower going than it could be if we weren't so resistant. We're resistant to each other. We are resistant to well-being. We are resistant to things going our way. We have a tendency to focus on where things go wrong. And in our focus on things going wrong, then we lose contact with our greater self. So earlier in the show, I was going to explain the meaning of your positive and negative emotions, where they really are coming from. If you've got them lined up so that you have harnessed them directly to conditions, then you are a very conditional being, and you are having a very rough ride, I promise you. Life is tough for you, and you're having a hard time getting manifestations to roll your way. You're judging things, good and bad, and people as good and bad. You're judging things, and that's not working well for you either. So what do I suggest instead of this? What is an alternative to this? The alternative to this is to know that in the farthest frame, in your largest frame, you are connected to all things. You are made of plunks. You are actually the formless, not the form, so nothing can touch you. You are liquid love. You are okay, no matter what. You are okay, no matter what. You are okay, no matter what. Now, a lot of people don't believe that. They believe that you have to earn your okayness, because you can get into places where it's very dangerous and very scary and very painful. And I'm not going to disagree with that, but I still believe that ultimately in the larger frame, you are okay. And you will know that immediately as soon as you re-emerge back into non-physical. You will know that you're okay. You will immediately when the resistance of all of the things that are in your way, in your view as a physical being, when those fall away, you will know who you are, and you will know your connection to the divine and your connection to the allness. But what I'm saying is, you can know a whole lot of that before you re-emerge into non-physical. You can. You have a physical mind that is so capable. You have no idea how capable it is of understanding things, of seeing things, of experiencing things, even in your physical body. How do you do it? Align it with what your non-physical mind knows to be true about the universe. Do that in general first, and seal it hard in the general first, and then, and only then, move into the specific and move into the grid of physical reality. But get clear first in the vibrational. Get clear first, and then move into the specific. So how do we do that? Well, I, in my presumptuous little show, am going to explain how we are designed. And we are designed. I do believe that someone designed us. I don't know how specifically they knew exactly what they were designing, but one thing they did is they gave us a plumped up neocortex layer of mind, which in our physical brain equates to an overview. The ability to see yesterday and tomorrow, and to see a bigger plane of events, to be able to be handed an agenda that says, stuff about last month, this month, next month, and pull together big topics. And now you can sit there and you can see all of that in an overview. You are not stuck with just looking right where you are and being trapped in the physicality of where you are in this physical moment. You have an overview mind that can take you farther than that. I'm going to go stop my dryer from doing that. It's driving me nuts. And you might be hearing it now. Beep, 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 beep. Anyway, I'm back. So we're not going to discuss too much about the fact that I think we were a created species. Somebody has genetically modified us in order to give us this layer of overview mind, this neocortex layer, which is analogous to the greater overview mind, which is why it's important that the vibrational frequencies of the two minds are more in alignment. When you use your overview mind to think in the negative, you are spinning things that are not real. You are creating things that weren't real until you did that. And now that you can start to see them forming in the material plane through your negative focus, these demons begin to coalesce. It's your focus that's doing it. They don't objectively exist. And if you would focus differently, these negative energies would subside. It's a kind of negative energy form. There's no source of this evil. It's just the human mind, when it goes to places where your spirit does not. It's like you have gone into places of thought without God. Literally, you have gone in there without your inner being. It feels terrible. It's very frightening. It's you can feel how dangerous it might be to bang around in a place like that. All it is it's in your consciousness. You have just turned yourself backwards. You are now... Who am I? Who am I? And what is the object of the exercise? I'll tell you what the object of the exercise is. Learn what reality is. Reality with a capital R, this matrix that we are swimming in, this reality. What is it and how does it come into being? And who am I in the middle of it and how does it work? So the object of the exercise, learn it, and then use it, work it to get more of what you want and less of what you don't want. And you don't have to worry about, there aren't evil people out there who want evil. There aren't. There are people who are misaligned. And this actually brings me back to a point I started to make over an hour ago, because I realize I am over an hour into the show, which means whenever I find a good stopping place, I can stop. But over an hour ago, I was trying to make a point about a teaching that had come to me in the last 5 years. It has to do with pure positivity. It has to do with everybody being good. Everyone is good, even the ones being bad. The ones being bad, the ones being evil, the ones being wrong, the ones being wicked, the ones causing suffering and pain. Even they are good. What they are is turned around. They're turned backwards. They've got their wires gobbed up inside. They are crossing their own energy stream. They are contradicting themselves. They don't know who they are. You are two selves, and one of them is relentlessly positive. And that is the one that is giving you trouble. Because every time you want to go negative, she makes it feel bad. You think that the feel bad is coming from your recognition of the condition that you don't like, that should be different. And if only that condition would be different, then you would feel better. And that is true. If the condition was different, you would feel better. However, that's not where the bad feeling is coming from. It's coming from the fact that you and your inner being are having a tug of war because your inner being continues to love them, continues to understand their place in the bigger picture and your place also. And when you don't, that discord, that you have created it within yourself. And so what is it that you long for? You long for clarity. You long for not crossed energy. You long for the you and the you within you to be flowing in the same direction and agreeing with each other and dancing with each other joyfully. And when you do that, if you are living your life truly with your inner being, guiding you every step of the way, with your imagination, with your sense of possibility, with your sense of connection and love and possibility and eagerness and interest and all of the things that, all of the things in the mix that could be, when you start living your life that way, all of a sudden it's fun. It's fun. And you start meeting people and you start playing with people and you start... manifestations start shifting in your world. The matter in your world starts shifting in a pleasing way, in an organized way, in a joyful way, in a playful way. And when you get to the playful level, then all of a sudden the universe, its material forms starts becoming more clay-like. And now you can mold the clay. What do you want to mold over here? What kind of a business would you like to build? You know, what kind of an empire or a network would you like to form of friends and or family and or motion, people moving around the world, and goods and services coming your way as you desire, as your desires come into... What kind of a life do you want to live? Do you want to live a life where you're stuck in some situation that you can't figure out and you can't move away from? Or would you rather flow with life and be joyful, be free, be joyful, be playful, be mindful, be loving, be kind? How do you have it all? Understand who you are. That's how to do it. And tomorrow I will come back and I will I tomorrow? Tomorrow is Wednesday. Yes, I will be back. No, I will not be back. Will I be back? Our problem is our power is going to be out all day long as we get a new power panel put on the side of our house. And I may be involved early in the morning getting ready for a day without power. And then the next day we leave very early for Omaha. And then the next day we're coming back from Omaha. And then the day after that, I might be back the day after that. That is Saturday. I may be back Saturday. And I may be here tomorrow. I don't know. In any case, I won't be letting down too many people. And because there isn't hardly anybody that listens. But it doesn't matter because I really understand now. I do this for me so that I understand these energies. And mark my words, someday I should tell you more specifically where I am in my life situation, so that when I tell you where I am a year from now or 2 years from now, you're going to go, wow, wow. And all this happened because you lined up with your inner being. Interesting. All right, so I guess I'm done. I did not finish the presentation. I never do. There's so much more to tell. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And how does my, what is my biotechnological design and how does it work? How does the rolling manifestation around me roll? And how do I get it to roll my way? Well, what you do is you learn that what you're doing is you are flowing your ship past what you want. So let go of the oars. Let go and let God, as they say. Don't try so hard. It really is easier than you think that it is. Let go of your resistance because, you know what? The Daleks were correct. Resistance is futile. Resistance is futile. Resistance is not what you want. Allowance is what you want. The art of allowance. As opposed to the science of deliberate creation. That's what they called it at first. This art of allowing. This art of allowing the universe to flow to you everything that you desire by you getting into alignment with it first. And then we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And until tomorrow, until then, be cool. You are love. You are connection. You are this matrix. You are all of it. You are the whole universe. In a really profound way, you are the whole universe. And yet you also are, you are manning the whole universe from the cockpit of your individual machine. And so you are your individual machine. Go forth and be your individual self, divinely autonomous unto this world. Go forth and do that. And we'll talk more about this the next time I get into the studio. I hope you will join me then. I love you. God bless. And may the source be with you.